Welcome to the November 7th meeting of the Economic Development Commission. And we're missing a few folks, but I will note that we do have a quorum this morning. So I will officially open the meeting, and as the first item of business, call for the approval of the draft minutes of the October 3rd meeting. Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve. Seconded.
And a second, okay. Any corrections, changes, additions? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None? It's unanimous. All right, before we go to Sean's report, I have a couple housekeeping items to address. I think everybody received my email through Sean of the options for the tour of the Treadwell. Morning, Vince.
Good morning. Sorry I'm late.
That's all right. We just started, we just did the minutes. So I have now firmed up that tour for Wednesday, the 12th at 12 noon. I would, Mark asked that we meet in the front of the building, even though that part of the building is still under construction, but meet at 12 noon. And then he's gonna personally narrate the tour for us and share some of his sort of thinking behind the business model that he's using in it. So it should be an interesting tour. It's 12 noon. I had taken the responses that people gave me, and I also had some email communications with various of you. So I've created a list of who has said yes or no. Yes or no. I'm going to pass that around, or for a couple of people who haven't responded. And would you just confirm your yes or no, so I know how many people I can advise them will be there. So I'll start that.
This is at,
Treadwell, you know, the old Elks building. Any questions about that? Okay. Just a reminder that our next meeting on December 5th will be at the high school, and we'll start at 8 and go to 9:30 instead of 7:30 to 9. And most of that day we'll be listening to the students and what they're doing in their program. Just a reminder that we'll be doing a January planning session as we've done for the last several years. The likely dates on that, if we stay with our Friday afternoon sessions, are the 16th or the 23rd. We'll try to pick that at the next meeting, so to the extent that you need to bring something other than your phone to do your calendar, then bring those for our December meeting, and we'll nail that down. Last item is, as a couple of you mentioned when we were chatting before the meeting started, you probably saw that the social district ballot question that we weighed in on at the request of the mayor did not pass. The final vote was 56% against, 44% in favor, which is a fairly decisive margin. The other interesting thing is that the cities of Concord and Laconia voted yes, so presumably they'll go forward with designing a social district for their communities. It would be a good test for the issue if it ever comes back to Portsmouth. The other communities other than Portsmouth were Nashua and Keene, who voted to shoot the idea down. So I expect that, not immediately, but at some point in the future, we'll probably see that issue again. So. All right. Any questions about those housekeeping items? Hearing none, I'll invite Sean to give us his report.
Great. Just some general comments from meetings I've had or opportunity to spend time out in the business community. We have new restaurants continuing to open, so filling spaces. So we're not filling those big spaces of the brewery or the old Re-Rob, but those have their own issues around them. There are retailers that are scheduled to come in. So again, the turnover continues to happen. And heard at the Chamber of Tourism meeting that September and October were strong conference strong conference activity. So they were very pleased with that. And now everyone's shifting to the holiday visitors and the holiday activities. So that's good news. I did hear that people along the Vaughan Mall have been going out of their way to thank DPW for their ability to keep the Vaughan Mall passable and not overly impact their businesses in a negative way. So that was positive. I heard that earlier this week. And the last thing I shared with staff was that I saw a report from the state on employment for the first half of 2025. The employment rate ticked up statewide from 2.8% to 3%. That was mostly driven by people being unemployed for longer stretches versus more people being unemployed. So some of the things we're hearing in the headlines nationally are playing out locally as well. So just I think employers being a little more careful in their hires because of the uncertainty. That is what I have for you this morning.
Questions of Sean? I have sort of not a question with your report, but I wonder if there's any, maybe Ben knows something about this. Has there been any effort to kind of interview these new businesses to find out why they're coming to Portsmouth, or are they existing Portsmouth business that are having like a second restaurant or a different?
Yeah, I don't have a formal program, and the first thing I always do is tell them to join the chamber because we got a great chamber. But I did get a call from the one retailer, Soft as Grape. I think I mentioned that at a previous meeting. That what I find is that with the ones that come here, they're part of a larger organization, so they've got the capital to be able to come in. They're not. We're seeing more groups and expansion versus someone just deciding I want to be in this business and walking into a space in Portsmouth. If you look at even the last restaurant that opened, the Ramen Club.
Yeah.
That's a ownership group who own two other restaurants in town. And so you're seeing that we've talked about this with the J Hospitality Group, the Portsmouth Hospitality Group. You really have to have some critical mass to be here and pay the higher rents and be able to deal with the flow of tourism and the lack of visitors in the winter. So that's kind of what we're seeing.
I saw that Soft as a Grape is taking over the fat
Yes.
face space in many cities.
In many, oh really?
Yeah.
So they have a
Not
strategy.
Just saw that as
happening
an
in
opportunity.
Yeah, I think they, so, yeah,
Taking it over?
Soft as a Grape.
Soft as a Grape.
It's a company out of
It's a
Cape Cod.
it's a t-shirt, sweatshirt.
Yeah.
So what I've seen over the years, and for you too, Ben, is we fit a certain profile, right? We have a certain demographic, we have certain disposable income levels. We're a tourism destination. People love the fact that we have this historic character. So whether it's the cruise line or Soft as a Grape or some of these other businesses that are coming here, we fit a certain profile. That's what I've seen in terms of patterns. But definitely what's at risk is the one-off, I want to start this business, I have got a passion for it, and I want to make it work no matter what. And sometimes the numbers don't work anymore.
I have a question on the Vaughan Mall, because it might be passable, but there's no way it's positive for those businesses. So when is the work planned to be done? And is this like the first stage and it's gonna be open? Because for the holiday season, I would want that area to be fully open. So what's the plan?
Yeah,
for that?
it's close to being done. I drive by it every day. It's made its way out to Congress Street. They hit a water main. It filled up the hole with water. They very quickly got rid of that. So what is the goal, Jacob, is all the underground work is being completed, and it'll literally be paved over for the winter.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then
And that
next
way it's
year
passed-
we'll do
yeah.
the top stuff.
Yeah, that
Basically.
way it's done, and then the question will be next spring, are there funds
Sure.
to do the street level? But I will just say, Novacure literally called DPW and thanked them for their efforts to not be.
Yeah, I mean they're not a walk-in business. They're not a retailer.
But yeah, but all the stores, if you noticed, I went there a few times, as soon as they could get to the middle, which is where the utilities were, you could pass.
No, I know. I walk down that every day for sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it positive. That's what I'm saying. Thanking
Yeah.
us for communicating and doing what we can to minimize disruption. That's very different. And the Maplewood Bridge is open too.
Yes, huge win.
Sharing the good news.
And I think early December is the target to have it smoothed over and
Right.
ready for holiday shopping.
Yep.
That has moved.
Correct. No, and the last, I'll just, while we're talking about, the last thing is they just started this week the sidewalks on Deer Street. And that's gonna take about a month, so again, to be ready by December 1st.
Dave is busy.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's the final push.
Will these be the final sidewalks or are these temporary?
Yes, no, these will be final on Deer Street.
So,
It's just,
not to go too much of a deep dive in this, so they cut down all those fairly mature trees. Are they gonna narrow the sidewalks, widen the?
not narrow, no, they're just replacing what the one upgrade is, they're replacing all the curbing. They already raised the road, so they're raising it so that to create more accessibility where there are not steps for stores on either side of Lower Deer. And the upgrade is they will put the layer of asphalt underneath the brick, which will prevent this stuff.
Yeah.
This is what they have today. So it's an opportunity to do complete streets. The street's been raised. The sidewalks will be upgraded, not widened, curbs replaced.
But this current project is not, you're not taking the sidewalks by the construction site, right?
No,
Yeah,
everything's
this is
basically
this
down
is just
to-
like
down to
Chardonnay
market,
and
right.
like that lower part of
Yep.
Deer.
down to market.
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
I always add it, it's I've got the new brick, the Pine Hall Portsmouth brick that
Yes.
looks the same but has a little better grip on the surface.
There is a Portsmouth brick now?
Yeah, I can send you the
Wow.
article. I've sent it to many people. It's a fascinating article. Developed just for our.
Technology, yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta love the technology.
Fascinating to sell.
stuff.
It's hot on the brick.
I'm with you, Ann.
It's a boring life,
There
so
is a
anything
brick.
to do with brick.
It's been used since like Hearth Market and
Yeah.
Commercial Alley, Islington.
Yep.
Like State Street brick is not the new brick. Though
Right.
it's new-ish brick, it's not the Portsmouth brick.
Brick geeks unite.
People complain about brick a lot, so you gotta know your bricks.
It's like, orange is the new black or something. All right, so next item on the agenda is to hopefully finalize and approve a draft of the recommendations to the master plan process, and I'll let Andrew lead us.
Sure, to put some of this in context. So this is the next to final draft for today's comment and today's vote for our submission to planning board and the master plan consultant. So this is the one that was sent out, I believe, on the 29th. And there was a request for comments, concerns by last Sunday. So hopefully people have had a chance to dive into it. Before I talk more about it, I just wanted to say there's several hands that went into this draft and just the thought energy that went into it. Chair Watson, Vice Chair LaChance, both key contributors, and this is had some organic growth in the beginning, but with that, and then there'll be more drafts, especially once it gets into the master plan. They're going to have their own draft, and I assume we'll probably get comments back from that. We don't really have any guidance on length and how it's gonna. I've been calling it the chapter of the master plan, so I assume we'll get some guidance back on that. But with that, I can just open the floor to comments or concerns, or maybe if people had a chance to read it after the November 2nd internal deadline and things came up for them, and kind of have open discussion on that. So I don't know if anyone has anything to add.
I think it's really comprehensive. I think UTIL's going to use this, they're in the midst of writing the draft, the first round of the
Right.
draft right now, and they're going to plan on using this as kind of a fact check against what they've pulled from all of the planning that's been done before. What I have seen from them on timeline is that they are going to circulate their draft then after they incorporate this, but the whole big master plan draft, and they're going to be looking for comment from us. But yesterday we had the discussion, they realized that before they send to us, it needs to first go to the advisory committee, the master plan advisory group. And they'll make comment, and then that'll be incorporated, and then it will come out to us. And right now, the advisory group hasn't been able to find a November date that suits them, so they're looking at early December now. So I don't think we're gonna be asked for comment till at least January.
Right.
Which might align with the retreat, to bring this back into the discussion. We'll see. Yeah, this really hit on a ton of areas.
It's a topic that's by nature very broad. So there was already kind of a funnel process that, the topics that surround economic development at a municipal level it's an endless list.
Sort of everything.
As Sean knows, and I also wanted to give some recognition to Sean too for his contributions on this. So there was that funnel process has happened with this draft. But there's, the opportunity that the last opportunity we have now is do we want to put more into the funnel? Do we want the funnel, the bottom to be a smaller? Is there add, delete? Is there something that was missed? That's kind of what today's opportunity is.
See, I think this is just gonna get kind of melded in with
Yeah.
what UTL
Yeah.
has. I don't think you need to make much change to this.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they've already done their own deep dive, and this is like a fact check. Did they miss something? Did they miss some detail that this will inform that? And then it's gonna come back to us.
That was going to be my suggestion too. Is that I don't think I think this is a perfectly great product to share with them because it's not going to be a copy paste.
No.
They're not going to take this and just dump it in there. They're going to use it and they're going to weave it into all these other things that they've done. And I think this will be a great resource not only for our chapter, as you called it, but I think it's more like a page now on our website. But I think it'll weave into other areas like transportation. I think will weave into other spots within this plan. So I think this is a really great effort, and I appreciate all the work of everyone to do it.
I was going to say from the get-go, UTL had outlined that economic development was an area of
Yes.
their focus. So this is this group feeding in from this perspective, which is great. I mean, they want as much input as they can get from all different corners and angles and perspectives. So to Ben's point, I think, and Ann's point, it's a good document to have, and
It's very
we'll get a few more swings on it for sure.
Right.
I just thought it's pretty comprehensive, and what I liked about it is it's fairly data driven. I was impressed with it, frankly. I thought it was a good thing. I have not looked at the whole master plan in terms of economic development for whatever they have now.
Yeah, we haven't seen
Not
that.
available yet.
It's not really
They're working
available.
on it.
I haven't,
It's going to
It would
come.
only
So-
be the input boards out in the
Yeah.
Portsmouth room, but that's a gathering input, not of them
Right.
giving out
Right,
information.
and so, and compared to the last master plan, I mean, this is so much more detailed and focused.
I feel like silently in our committee, or maybe internally, that there was that hope that there'd be more words, more pages, more real estate dedicated to the economic development chapter, web page than there was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to see an actual, here's the economic development. Like when I see infrastructure, they have a whole thing on
Thing on that,
infrastructure, and
yeah.
they're not thinking of it as economic development. They're thinking of it
That's what I
as
was-
infrastructure.
Yeah, so my observation.
Housing, same thing.
Sarah next, but my observation is that if you compare the 2005 plan to the last plan, so much of this is style.
Yes,
And,
yes.
last plan really didn't talk about economic development as such, whereas the 20-year-old plan actually laid out a section on it. So, as I said, the more important thing is that, you know, we're hopefully reinforcing what they've already learned when they've gone through the prior plans and the sessions, and maybe they'll make it a little more pronounced as, you know, economic development, not simply things to do in the city. But Sarah.
I echo everybody's feedback. I think this is really well done, really comprehensive. There's two questions, or one comment, one question. I think we need to start thinking about infrastructure as including telecommunication, wireless. I don't see 5G or anything mentioned in the city part of the infrastructure, but you do mention it in the initiative, so I think it's important to always bring internet, wireless, telecom into infrastructure conversations. And then the other question I had, I know this is always a touchy subject, but for transportation, do you see an opportunity to mention integration with regional transportation networks as part of Portsmouth's master plan, or are we trying to keep this more like Portsmouth specific?
Yeah, I think it has to talk on a regional level. I'm trying to remember the last time this group.
Teal is working with Coast
Yeah.
on a regional level for it.
It's kind
Yeah.
of,
That's what we have. We don't have a
Right.
city.
I just think it's
there's an
important to call
omission
out
on that
regional
kind of. Yeah.
as well.
When you say regional, do you mean like within the seacoast, or do you mean like a train to Boston? Because
I mean,
Train to
outside
Boston
the
would be
bounds
great.
of the city of Portsmouth.
Yeah, which is coast.
Okay.
Today, which the city of Portsmouth is the largest contributor to
Right.
coast.
Yep.
Financially.
One of the things I noticed is that it talks about,
When you say it, you're talking this, or you're talking the?
this document.
Okay. Yep.
It talks about business, commerce, transportation. There's, maybe I missed it, but I didn't see manufacturing as a topic that was addressed in it. And I know we do have manufacturing, and so I just wonder, maybe I missed something, but just that word didn't seem to pop up.
All right, so let's approach it this way. So, what I'm interested in is, I guess, a motion, unless you have something further you want to address, Andrew, on the introduction, then I'd like to see a motion start to approve this as the official recommendation of the EDC, and then if anybody, and once we get a second on that, then if anybody has specific items they'd like to put in it, let's raise those, discuss whether they should be in or not, and amend it, and then, but we need to finalize this today if we're gonna be of any value to Util. And
Yeah, 'cause they're writing it,
board, so-
they started a few weeks ago on writing the
Yeah.
draft.
that was one of the reasons that I pushed it out electronically twice before this meeting, just to make sure that we're focused and gonna have a final product today. So can we start with a motion to adopt this as the official recommendation of the EDC?
I move to adopt this draft as the official recommendation from the EDC to the Portsmouth 2035 master plan.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
Get a second. Okay, now, I don't, unless you want to make comments in support of your motion, then I'd like to see if, you know, what people have for very specific changes to this.
Well,
And-
maybe not a change, but I'm looking at the number one on page 2. It does say bringing new business and new industry. So it doesn't say manufacturing, it says industry, which I think is fairly interchangeable. So
Yeah.
I kind of see that as the intent there.
Any,
So I would like to request that we add 5G or telecommunication to the infrastructure list.
what page are we on?
On page 3,
Yep.
section 2, paragraph 1.
The initial paragraph or the
Yes,
recommendation? Okay.
the ergo section.
So this would be in line 2.
Yes.
Okay. Specifically, you want to say
5G and telecommunication infrastructure.
Who knows what it'll be in 9 years, right?
Exactly.
Like, just think about how fast that world changes.
I was going to say, 5G might be antiquated by then.
Well, then it would just be 6G.
It'll be 10G by then.
Seriously? If they double every time, then it's going to be the AI running the world. So, all right. I'll take that as a motion to amend the plan accordingly. Do I hear a second to that? Okay, let's vote on that. All in favor of amending the recommendations to include the 5G telecommunications architecture, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right. Other specific changes? Okay. You're comfortable with Ann's observation about industry, including
Yeah.
manufacturing?
I am.
Excellent. Okay. All right, then we'll vote on the motion itself. All in favor of adopting the motion to adopt this recommendation as amended to the planning board and the consultants indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Any opposed? None? It's unanimous. Excellent. So what I will do is I'm going to essentially delete the paragraph at the top. I will add the language requested by Ann, and then I will email this out later today. And then we'll wait to see what comes back to us in probably January. All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Andrew. Great job with your committee.
Really, really well done.
All right, Ben, you want to give us an update on the chamber?
Sure. I'd like to start by talking about the Young Professionals Organization Catapult. That is officially a program of the Chamber Collaborative, but acts independently with its own leadership of its membership. And that's a Seacoast-wide organization that is under our umbrella. But there's two significant things there to share. That one, the statewide organization Stay Work Play introduced a new award to recognize the Young Professional Organization of the Year. First time it was given out and was awarded to our very own Catapult. So we take great pride in that they were honored statewide as a leading organization serving our young professionals. So I think we should all take pride in that. And then secondly, their annual awards, which is the 10 to Watch, that ultimately recognizes 20 young professionals, but then they single out, or not single out, but they lift up 10 as the 10 to Watch this year. Those awards are right around the corner here, and if I was a better person, I would have the date right in front of me, but I don't. But I will get that for you and share that through Sean. So those awards are coming up. From the Chamber's perspective, we have a lot of things going on. Over the years, we've absorbed some community things, like Vintage Christmas lives with us. So we are currently putting together the promotional campaign to support the Vintage Christmas program here in Portsmouth, working on things like Shop and Stroll. Previously, after the parade and the tree lighting, there was an evening later in the nighttime shopping event where we had the streets shut down a little bit longer. This year, we're going to try to push that to the pre-side of the parade, encourage people to come down earlier in the day when it's brighter out and warmer out and a little bit easier to shop. So we're going to encourage people to come down starting around noon and experience downtown Portsmouth, and then they can line up for their perfect parade watching spot. For that. A couple other things going on. We have partnered with a national firm out of Nashville to produce a relocation publication. So this is a magazine and a web component as well that will be a great tool for somebody considering a move to the area. It's a tool that companies can use if they're trying to bring in somebody to the area. This is a publication they can give to them that talks about schools and healthcare and living here on the Seacoast, recreation, that sort of stuff, so that they have some information to use in their decision-making process. And obviously, it's salesy. We're going to put our best foot forward and highlight our strengths in this publication. So we're really excited about that. I think it'll be a great tool for the business community that always struggles with bringing people in to the region. So that we should see paper copies of that starting probably late next spring, May, June, somewhere in there. I would suspect we'll see paper versions of that. Couple other things happening. Obviously, things are ramping up in Concord as the legislative session kind of starts to ramp up. We're certainly looking at a lot of the legislation that's proposed. There's a very significant amount of legislation that would be harmful to things like affordable housing and set back a lot of the work that's been done over the past few years. So we're very concerned about that. We'll have to see what, as always, there's, I think, 1,400 pieces of legislation, LSRs out there. And we'll have to see what sort of starts to get momentum and legs under it. So we're definitely starting to track that 1,400 pieces of legislation. Fortunately, other people sift through that. I don't have to do that, but it's a long list. And then the only other thing I'll highlight is we have been working to better support the West End businesses. I think you'll start to see in the new year some specific programming from us for the West End business groups to get together probably quarterly at first to bring them together and start working on some of the different initiatives there in the West End. We recognize we tend to be a little bit more downtown centric with our work, and we want to broaden that out to the really kind of growing and thriving community that is the West End of Portsmouth. So that's something you'll see in the new year. And then my last thing, I'd just like to give great kudos and recognition to the businesses in our community that are stepping up to support those that are experiencing food insecurity right now. I think we've all seen folks like Vita Cantina and Black Trumpet and others, many others that are doing some great work to do that, and that is an expense to them. And I know they're proud to do it, and I think they deserve all the recognition in the world. So I just wanted to share that. So that's all I have to share.
Right. Questions of Ben?
Did I forget something?
Can I ride on Ben's coattails for a second?
Absolutely.
One is, if you didn't see it, there was an article in the Tenants at Pease newsletter about Albany International. This is a really good story about why they chose to come here. And if you don't know, I'll give you the cliff notes. They basically moved their corporate headquarters here, leaving all the manufacturing and R&D in Rochester. And they're going to add jobs at very high levels. So we really did compete.
Yeah.
I think the state to keep them here, not have them go to someplace like Nashville or others. So in addition to bringing executives here from around the country, they're going to be adding positions. I will forward that newsletter to you all. It's called Tenant at Pease. It comes out. There's a couple of good articles in there. And the last thing I'll mention is something I shared with staff is that there was an article about state revenues continue to underperform. So I don't know if you all saw that. It was in depth. NewHampshire.com. I'm happy to share that. But I shared it here in City Hall because it just continues to put pressure on the municipalities. So revenues continue to fall. I'll leave it at that. Across the state. Yeah.
Questions of Ben, Andrew?
This is more of just a comment. So I love the idea of the relocation guide and the magazine, but just wanted to highlight an opportunity with that. And I think if Bob Mahefka was here, he would be nodding as well. The residential brokerages that we have in Portsmouth and beyond Portsmouth are often on the front line of relocations and businesses. So what will happen is a CEO, usually it's the CEO, president of a company, will secure a house, a home in Rye, Newcastle, Portsmouth, this area, well ahead of that business being relocated to the Seacoast area. And the residential agents, especially the ones that are doing higher volume, are the first to know, not the commercial all the commercial services and not, you know,
Oh, yeah.
and not our group and not City Hall. So they are the ones that maybe should have that on their, you know, coffee table desk.
Yeah, that's exactly the concept is.
When they come in, yeah.
So it'll be available through us, and anyone's welcome to it. Real estate agents certainly, HR departments at existing businesses in the area. If they're bringing somebody in, they can share that with somebody. So yeah, it will be thousands will be printed. They'll be widely available, but through us. So anyone can reach out and ask for that.
So let me ask you a question relating to that. So my impression would be you'd almost need several different types of relocations depending upon the audience. Are you looking for corporate headquarters? You're looking for...
Yeah, I mean, this is kept at a broad brush, if you will. So it's all about quality of life. It's all about quality of place. And it's not specific to one industry or businesses. It's here's the area. Here's what you can expect for schools. Here's what you can expect for healthcare. Here's what you can expect for arts and entertainment and culture and all this and that. So it's very much think of a visitor guide, but for people that are looking to relocate. Here is how we look at it. So it's very much like that, very salesy. Polished, pretty pictures, all that sort of stuff, and less data on specific industries and things about like rent rates and the percentages of available real estate, that sort of stuff. We leave that to the professionals that do that sort of work, and this is about the experience of living here.
Gotcha. Would there be an opportunity once you get that done, the electronic version, to tie into the city's website so if somebody is
Certainly.
searching economic development, they could?
Yeah, so this firm that we are working with, they do this around the country, and they're very, very good at it. I worked with them when I was at the Asheville, North Carolina Chamber, and so they are very good at things like search engine optimization and getting this out in front of. So in theory, in 6 months from now, when somebody Googles like relocating to Portsmouth, this would be right up there in the top searches. So we certainly are happy to have the city link to it. Anyone's welcome to link to it. Real estate agents could link to it. Whoever have you. It's not. We want it widely shared. So, of course.
Okay, great. Sarah, you want-
In addition to the SNAP program impacts, are there any other impacts that you're hearing economically from the government shutdown, given the population we have of federal workers, both in Kittery and at Pease?
I mean, the obvious answer is yes. I mean, I know several, just anecdotally, I know several people that are in senior positions at the shipyard and, have been there for decades. And they have even told me that I'm fine until like mid-November, but after that, like my savings are going to be depleted. So I think we haven't really, and I don't want to make I'm sure certainly some families are very much feeling the loss of that revenue to them. And there was some really great data shared the other day. I think there's 9,000 federal employees here in the state of New Hampshire, or something like that. I forget. It was shared at the housing breakfast I was at on Thursday by the New Hampshire Fiscal Policy Institute. And if it continues on particularly through Thanksgiving, and talk about the strain on the air traffic control system around the holidays will be dramatic. And it will not be a pleasant experience to travel this holiday season. So I think very much so. And I think the more this goes on, the worse it'll get.
Sarah, I go to,
on LinkedIn of people who are civilians that work at the shipyard who are still working at the shipyard but are posting open for other work. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be here
yeah, I
anymore.
attend Seacoast Shipyard Association meetings, which is heavily labor focused, and people are they're just working without pay, and so there's this whole push by folks in that organization. It's a nonprofit organization to just reach out to businesses and ask for help, and they're getting a lot of responses: gas cards, free meals, gift cards, just food drives. I mean, there's a ton of activity over there across the river, but it certainly comes over here as well. Big push. It's amazing.
Final question, how did the worker, is it still developing the local love program?
Yeah.
And the Downtown for Locals program?
Yep. Well, those are two different initiatives. So, Local Love is the Third Thursday Shopping retail initiative that just finished its first 12 months, and what we're finding, and I think this is a natural evolution, is that we're going to refine that program. We're going to continue to evolve it, but there is still strong interest in the retail community in working together, which is great. And I've been doing this for a while now, and that hasn't always been the case. So we're thrilled that they're still coming to the table. They're still bringing great ideas, and we're going to find the right fit after some evolution and change. So that program continues. The Downtown Locals Belong Here program, which is trying to examine why some members of our regional local community, maybe not come downtown Portsmouth anymore for a variety of reasons, continues to meet. They just met early this week, Monday of this week. We have another meeting that we're putting together for early December, and that work is ongoing. They're doing some research. They're looking at a lot of the research the city's already done, what studies have been done already, and how can that weave into some of these ideas and thoughts. They're going to do some of their own research and look at what questions do we need to have answered that haven't been answered before. They're also going to look at other communities and say, we're not the only ones that have experienced this, right? And what have other communities done that has worked well? So there's a team looking at that as well. So that work is ongoing. We're hoping, March, April next year to have some finished products that we can start sharing out. And again, these are all hopefully low-hanging fruit that, won't be implemented all day one. Some of them may, as an opportunity comes up in 2 years from now or something like that, it might take that idea off the shelf and put it into practice. So it's going to be I think the product will be good, and we'll see where it goes after that.
Great. Did you have something, Andrew?
Yeah, just kind of a little additional comment to my previous comment, and Ben, maybe it'd be appropriate we could talk offline about this, but a lot of times, especially on the residential broker side, those homes are not purchased in Portsmouth.
Yeah.
They're Rye, Newcastle, Stratham, and Rye and Newcastle don't have much in the way of commercial industrially zoned areas, but Stratham does. But I'd be interested in helping out with it,
Sure.
Spreading that link around, because it's pretty easy to identify what, CEO targets are for on their residential, what's on their radar kind of thing, and who's dealing with those people. It's the same people over and over again.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Follow up.
Okay. Other questions of Ben? Thank you. Then turn it over to Council Lombardi in his almost last meeting with us.
Last meeting in this room.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah. I'm glad we are having a meeting at the high school. I have to say, I always enjoy seeing those kids. They are the future. Hopefully we can provide a good future for them. In one way, I think we're doing that, and thanks to Sean in part, the Arts and Cultural Commission presented their Artist Live Work report, and so we approved that report, and it is being sent to the planning board to create an ordinance for the Cultural Commission. One of the good things about the votes on social districts and the others is that I think that would have taken a lot of time of the council and this body as well. And from strictly a selfish point of view, although it's not affecting me, but as a city councilor, I think we have more important things to address than that. That's my opinion. We did approve the Coakley Road, Cottage Street redevelopment with state funding. So that's moving forward. Good news is that the high school golf team took state championships, which is just great to see those kids. They all, they took a picture with us, and all those kids are like Daglin. They're as tall as him. I'm standing in the back row, going, wait,
Good water here.
I guess so, yeah. Well, we gotta thank our our water people then. We had the first reading of the combining the encumbrance ordinances. That we've been working on that for months to of course we did the restaurant, the outdoor dining, but we've also been looking at all the encumbrances on city property and what that means and where they are in the ordinances. And they were spread throughout the ordinances so that it was just impossible to...
Cumbersome?
Yeah, and cumbersome encumbrances. I believe we got rid of no driving cattle through the streets of Portsmouth, Market Square.
Cleaned them up.
But I was a little disappointed to get rid of that. But that was a huge effort on the governance committee and now to the city council. And I think we had a lot of input on that from the legal department, and basically all of the departments of the city.
If I could comment, Councilor, it's just, in addition to being easier to do business with from citizens and businesses, it's going to take work out of City Hall, which is kind of our mandate, to be more effective, more productive, and not be following the trail of all these different rules. So kind of a 2-for-1 there, if you will, as that goes through the process.
We did fund a $2.5 million ladder truck for the fire department. We have to do that now because in order to get that, we have to order it now. And it takes about 5 years to produce the truck because...
So no fires for the next...
No fires. Well,
no tall fires.
We still have our ladder truck, but it's at its end of life period. And so the problem is that there are very few places who make these things, and everybody needs them. I really credit the chief, fire chief, for being on top of this and bringing this forward and getting his order in. So we'll have it in a timely manner. Timely manner is 5 years. And then I guess lastly, I would say we had the first reading to create an ordinance for a permanent energy advisory commission. So it's been working as a blue ribbon committee for now several years. It includes, kids from the high school and community members. And the commission is, we're looking at creating that as a permanent commission. So that's what I've got. Think of anything else we're doing?
Oh, that's a good list.
Yeah.
Any questions of Vince? Thank you very much. We'll miss your reports. we'll get to do one next month as well. All right, so, any, new business at all? Would you like to offer anything as a public comment, Steve?
Oh, gosh, I'm just interested in the work that you do. I've been to your meetings off and on, and I applied to get on the board. And I just have a passion for public service. And, you know, I was a state representative and vice chair of the New Hampshire Port Authority, and other positions. And so I hope to be able to join you. See how it goes.
Yeah.
I know there are other people applying too, so we'll see what happens.
Well, you need to knock on the city councilor's doors to.
Well, not in the mayor's door, it's really.
The beginning of the mayor's door. All right, so before we adjourn, did that attendance sheet for the.
Yeah, I have it.
Is that all passed all around?
Oh, here it is.
Oh, I just need to, I just have to look at my calendar.
Everyone's responded with the exception of the city manager, mayor, and assistant mayor.
Right.
Once Vince
Yeah.
logs in.
It's the,
You can cross me off. I
11,
I
12,
have something that can.
November 12th.
So you're not gonna be able to make it on that?
yeah.
I'll get it for another
You-
time.
Yeah, I'll come to that.
Oh, fun.
In the front of the mansion itself, not the addition on the back.
So you're switching to a no?
Yeah.
I got you. All right.
I will send a reminder out, to include everybody on it. I don't mean that I've ignored you, but, all right. Very good, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you all very much.